So that's our lineup today, an FA Cup semi-final and the final of the FA Challenge Trophy from Wembley. And indeed, welcome again to a special cup tie edition then of the big match. It's the FA Cup semi-final between Arsenal and Stoke that writes another dramatic chapter in cup tie history for us. You'll see near the end how Arsenal are forced to play on with goalkeeper Bob Wilson crippled and finally replace him in goal by John Radford. How three men are booked as the nerves get the better of the action. A gripping afternoon of football then as Arsenal meet Stoke in an FA Cup semi-final. A bright day in Birmingham, but a blustery win to add to all the other imponderables, and a repetition of last year's semi-final. For this one, Arsenal have sprung a late surprise. At 1 o'clock, they told fullback Bob McNabb that he'd be in for his first game since he received a pelvic injury in January. John Radford is at 10 in place of Ray Kennedy. McNabb has had only 3 reserve games since his injury, and he still had to take pain-killing tablets to get himself into this one. As for Stoke City, a big blow for them. Their team lineup shows Terry Conroy, a star in the League Cup final against Chelsea, still not fit. So they play cautiously with the defender Eric Skeels in a number 7 shirt. Alex Elder is at 3 in place of the suspended Mike Pedgitt. Referee Keith Walker from Charing near Ashford in Kent. And the crowd, 56,000, paying receipts of £66,000.
So Arsenal with yellow shirts and blue shorts defending the goal to our right get us away on what is regarded as the cruelest of afternoons in the season. An afternoon that plays havoc with the nerves of players and supporters alike, with Wembley so close. Charlie George now, and into touch for a throw to Stoke City. John Marsh leaving it instead to Peter Dobing. Greenoff to Eric Skeels, in for Terry Conroy and George Easton. And the challenge by Storey was far too harsh on Easton, and Keith Walker having a word with Peter Storey. Storey, of course, the man who would remember the semi-final last season at Hillsborough so well with those 2 vital goals for Arsenal. But now it's a free kick, and Alex Elder played in the cup final for Burnley 10 years ago against Spurs when Spurs won. Elder with the free kick, caught on the wind. Simpson down to Graham. And now McNabb, his first touch since January in the first team. And the throw to Arsenal. Graham. Of course, after the draw at Hillsborough, that dramatic one, it was here at Villa Park that Arsenal won, and that from Dennis Smith looked for a moment as though it might not carry to Banks. Graham with the head. Marsh going in, very forthright fashion indeed. McNabb. The route back to Wilson cut off by Greenoff, and so it's Armstrong now. Graham. Alan Bloor, this big bluff defender, finding Greenoff. And a lovely ball by Greenoff to Easton, lurking on the far side. In first time, and very near. What a clever piece of play, and Wilson is hurt. He's caught his nose on the post. And that ball was always causing him trouble in the air. Brilliantly and intelligently put there by George Easton. Wilson on his feet. A bruise on the nose, no doubt, but he's got to face pressure now. Easton to curl a corner under that Arsenal crossbar again, and Wilson got it and lost it and got it again. Wilson having difficulty finding anything like the halfway line against the breeze. Charlie George going in. George Graham. Nice bit of skills there in a very tight situation by George Graham, but a throw to Stoke City. Very muddled start, particularly by Arsenal, who seem incapable at the moment of finding each other and stringing a few telling passes together. Graham up well. George not quite knowing where it was, but George Graham did. Marsh. McNabb. And now Bernard. Greenoff, very alert and very alive up front, and Easton. McClintock, short one to Armstrong. McClintock again, Charlie George, going down, taken by Bloor, and the referee is feeling for his book. Keith Walker feeling for the book, and Alan Bloor is going to be booked with only 6.5 minutes gone, and Charlie George still on the ground injured. George all right, and Arsenal getting on with it. Armstrong. Charlie George taking it well, but couldn't quite take the challenge from Bloor. Bernard. Ritchie. And Rice. Combination of Rice and Story is formidable indeed. Winning the ball for Arsenal. George Graham. Simpson. Rice. Oh, he's got past Elder, and a free kick given, Elder bringing him down. Arsenal's free kick, as Rice drew back that right foot to cross the ball. It'll be Armstrong to chip it. Simpson's made a break. George Graham going in with a head, straight to Banks. 2 headers against Wolves last week. And the challenge is fierce. And the linesman giving quite clearly the throw to StokeCity. Ball unhappy. Free kick rather to Stoke. McClintock. Oh, that bounced back for Ritchie and not quite for Greenoff. Story. Feet were a little high there. And Bernard. And the scuffle is on. They're after Bernard, and Keith Walker is in there too. And the feelings really are running high in this Cup semi-final. And it will be so much better for everybody to cool down. One name already taken, that of Alan Bloor. And Keith Walker telling Bernard that his feet were high on Story. Certainly when an Arsenal player is challenged like that in an unfair way, I'm bound to say there are 4 or 5 who really spring to his defence, as they did on that occasion. Skeels misjudging that, and it's Radford for Arsenal. The little chip through, and that was handball by Smith, and it's a free kick for Arsenal. Keith Walker is going to book Dennis Smith for deliberately handling the ball. He booked Smith last week against Leeds United, and he's booking him again now. The second Stoke name. So Smith's name goes in. Charlie George. Radford. Ball. And Armstrong couldn't get to it. Now McNabb, it's calling for the chip. And he's given it. Elder, in fact, who got ahead to that one. Charlie George turning it back again. Rice. Smith and Charlie George, and Smith is playing a dangerous game. Play on, says the referee. Charlie George, the flick back again, Alan Ball. Oh, just wide. Played back deliciously there by Charlie George, and it bobbled a fraction before Ball hit it, when really Banks had no chance. Banks spotting Dobing. What a good and intelligent goal kick. Elder towards Greenoff. They've let him go, and a shot by Greenoff, and a marvellous save by Wilson. Greenoff holds his head. He was ready to shout goal with all the Stoke supporters, but somehow Wilson got a hand to it. wonderful save, and a corner now for Stoke. Easton with it. Charlie George off the top of his head though. Simpson not getting it properly away. And a shot by Bernard that is wide. Well, after that scare in the first minute, Wilson has had little enough to do. But that really was a superlative save there by the Arsenal goalkeeper, keeping it at 0-0 with 5 minutes to go to half-time. Ball. George Graham to Bob McNabb. And offside against Radford. Complaining bitterly there to linesman Vincent James of York. But I would suggest that he's a very experienced referee who at least knows what offside is all about. Banks with the kick. Easton, the linesman flanking on the far side, play on, says Keith Walker. And now Alan Ball. Harassed by Bernard in the free kick. Stoke supporters indignant, I think, that Alan Ball fell there. But now Ball again. To Rice. Little enough time now left at the end of the first half, and still Pat Rice played for Alan Ball, and first time across the goal. Armstrong played back again. What a good piece of play by Armstrong to Graham. Smith to nod this one away. Story to go in, left foot. Oh, and across the goal and behind, and Banks didn't quite get a hand to it. Story, who whacked one from a similar position this side of the penalty area, that produced the first goal at Hillsborough in the semi-final last season, really caught that one too. Banks then with the goal kick. As the whistle goes for half-time, no goals, a lot of good football. Arsenal have had rather the better of it, and yet it's taken one tremendous save by Wilson to keep the score sheet blank. So we come to a half-time situation in this FA Cup semi-final at Villa Park. Stoke City 0, Arsenal 0. Welcome back as Stoke City get us away at the start of the second half. Stoke, of course, will now be facing this considerable breeze. Arsenal will have it at their backs. No goals, and Gordon Banks for Stoke. McClintock recovering well. Dobing. And a foul there on Dobing by George Graham. No, the other way about, given in fact to Arsenal. And Simpson to play it back to Bob Wilson. And Frank McClintock having come onto the field at the start of the second half and made it quite clear to the Arsenal supporters they wanted as much encouragement as they could get, getting it there with that famous old Arsenal song, and now it's with Charlie George. Ball, trying it, delicate little 1-2 there, but Elder for Stoke, but it's Arsenal's throw. Armstrong, ball. Down he goes, it's got to be a free kick, given against Elder. Chance now for Arsenal to turn a dangerous little free kick into that packed Stoke penalty area, catch the breeze with it, but it's Gordon Banks on the end of it again for Stoke. Mike Bernard to Jimmy Greenoff. Bernard again. The pitch fairly firm, but taking a start in very good nick, in fact. And now Charlie George with Radford in the middle. Radford is outnumbered, still Charlie George. And really it wanted the cross, and it's not away yet. Armstrong hitting one, and a goal! George Armstrong! Arsenal ahead! And little George Armstrong has done it! Only his 5th goal of the season! George Armstrong, who has not scored in the last 18 games, has got a vital first goal for Arsenal, and Banks couldn't reach it. Dobing and Story planted forward. George wasn't going for it. And behind that Stoke goal, the Arsenal supporters are beside themselves. Again, difficult as it was for the Stoke defenders in the first half, so it was for Simpson there to judge those high balls caught on the wind without giving the opposing forward a little nudge. So it's Bloor with the free kick for Stoke. Wilson's got to come for this one, and he almost missed it. And Wilson is still down, and Ball gets it away for Graham. Arsenal's throw, and Wilson is down on the deck in his own 6-yard area, and seems to be in a fair bit of pain. He's not a player who is likely to con anyone. Could well be quite genuinely hurt there. Stoke City substitute Harry Burrows beginning to warm up. So Wilson all right. And it'll be a throw on the far side of the field to Arsenal. Another throw for Arsenal. Radford to hurl a long one to put Stoke under more pressure, but in fact he saw Simpson. Good bit of skill there by Simpson. George couldn't get ahead to it, neither could Smith. And now Dobie. Oh, and he got in finally, Charlie George. He waited for his moment and found the right one. And now Armstrong. Saw Radford on the far side, but his aim was way out. Easton. A flick to Bernard. And now Easton. I would think with Stoke needing to put more power in attack, that when they bring Burrows on, it'll be a defender who comes off. It might well be Skeels. Elder. Men calling for it deep. There's Ritchie. But the head of Simpson again, Easton. The shot through a crowd of players, but the weight taken off it by an Arsenal defender. And Wilson really is suffering every time he moves. And still not halfway through this half. Could be a critical time for Bob Wilson and for Arsenal. And Burrows wants to come on for Stoke, the substitute. And in fact, it looks as though it's Mike Bernard who's coming off. And at the same time, Ray Kennedy warming up for Arsenal. Actually, at the goalpost there, Bertie Mee also coming on to have a word. And it could well be a very dramatic situation where Wilson has to go off. No, it looks as though they're putting a bandage there, somehow or other, to prop him up and keep him in this cup semi-final. Situation that really could be make or break for Arsenal. Bertie Mee, of course, himself a fine physiotherapist, going around to see what he could do with Bob Wilson's knee. Heavy strapping. And now on with the game again. Graham. Arsenal obviously would desperately like a second goal as an insurance now, with Wilson just that little bit suspect at the back. Ball. Smith away. Story. Arsenal in defence really must protect Wilson now as much as they possibly can. Scales. Smith laying it off now for Elder. Ball. Story, a bobbling ball, but he controlled that well to give Radford half a chance. And it's a corner for Arsenal, off Dennis Smith. There's Smith, got to do a defensive job now as Armstrong takes this corner for Arsenal. Radford getting to it with his head. Now Stoke taking it up again with John Marsh. Greenoff. They've got to pressurise this Arsenal defence now. Dobing and Radford right back to do a job at the back. The pressure now really beginning to build up on Arsenal. Eastham with Dobing, the sort of man to prod and probe the weak points. And Wilson goes in! And Smith has got there. Dennis Smith has equalised. And in fact, it was the pass by Eastham. Wilson was hobbling, couldn't get to it. And when you come from the Potteries, it's the moment you've come to see. It's going to call for a lot of courage and character from Arsenal now, and for a lot of protection for the crippled Wilson. 1-1. Ritchie. It surely will spur Stoke now. Blore thought about passing it back. And now Elder. A long ball forward. McClintock at the end, straining there to get to it. Rice. McNabb. Radford. That little terrier Armstrong couldn't get to that one. Elder. Eastham. And now Skeels. Dobing. And Greenoff. Towards Ritchie. McClintock doing the protecting job there. McNabb. Greenoff. Ritchie. And now Burrows. The ball there, nice ball there to Greenoff. And obstruction, and a free kick for Stoke in the area. no penalty, and it couldn't have been. It was obstruction by Arsenal, and Story is giving Wilson some stick, and Wilson is giving Story some stick, and Arsenal for the moment in a little bit of disarray. Four men in the Arsenal wall. It's all building up against Arsenal. Eastham to prod and to probe again. The little chip by Eastham. Wilson bravely getting a fist. Skeels going down. And Wilson down so bravely as the ticker tape goes across Villa Park. And Wilson down again. Whether he was put there by Ritchie, I don't know. He's getting to his feet again. He can hardly walk. Eastham. In for Dobing. No, against the post. Greenoff, no. And Wilson cannot go on. He is appealing in vain to the bench to come off. And I think they have got to take Bob Wilson off. He is utterly and completely crippled, and the woodwork came to Arsenal's rescue there. It looks as though it's Radford who's going to go into goal. Well, out players very often fancy themselves in goal, and I wonder what Radford would feel about a situation now. A semi-final of the Cup. The game standing level with everything to play for. And Wilson, a sad and a crucial moment for Arsenal. And Ray Kennedy, the substitute, is on. Well, these two sides, when they met at Hillsborough last year, had drama all the way with that final penalty. And now John Radford, in goal for Arsenal, gives another touch of drama this year. So Wilson being led off. And Radford with his goal kick. And if you had to put money on it now, you would have to put your money on Stoke. Greenoff, Dobing, all the touches are there now. Eastham couldn't quite make it though. Ball, his industry is going to be needed, and so too is Armstrong's. And away goes Charlie George. Smith, now Kennedy. But it's a corner. A pity for Arsenal, Kennedy couldn't make contact properly. Armstrong to take it. A deep one, and Banks is there, challenged by Graham, and a free kick to Stoke. Banks, whose kicking hasn't been all that it might have been, particularly in this second half against the wind. Ball. George, a lot of Arsenal players are up now. Ball couldn't get back to it though. George Graham. Oh, and he plays it straight to Skeels. Burrows. Sweeping out there towards Ritchie. But McNabb again there for Arsenal. Following it through well, Bob McNabb. Marsh. And again McNabb getting in the way. Oh, he took a few yards there, I would have thought, with that throw. Greenoff. Eastham. And play on, says the linesman on the far side. Dobing was not offside. Greenoff back to Marsh. Eastham playing with the ball there, making very little progress. But the throw to Stoke. Dennis Smith has gone right up again. Kennedy's Header getting it away, only as far as Doving, right back there again. And now Burrows. Rice coming out quickly, flicked across again, and nodded away this time. Now Skeels, and now Doving. And Arsenal hurling themselves at it. McClintock. And finally it's McClintock who gets it away. Those Arsenal defenders literally hurling themselves at Stoke players, and McClintock setting the right example, getting it away. And a free kick to Stoke, and Marsh and McNabb mixing it a little bit. It'll be Marsh with the kick. 3 minutes plus injury time left. Oh, Greenough! Oh, he's saved that well, Radford. Smith turning it across and behind. Good play by Radford. Smith shot the wind behind, but Radford was the hero in that situation. Ball tugging at the shirt of Ritchie. And Ball looks as though he's going to be booked. Well, he was clearly tugging at Ritchie's shirt. And the name of Alan Ball putting his arms round Keith Walker's neck. It'll make no difference, that name goes in the book. And Stoke get a free kick in these last crucial moments of a great semi-final. Every Arsenal player is back, and it's Kennedy who got it away. Armstrong who helped it on its way. Charlie George. Burrows. And out comes Radford to grab it again. Well, that's the only man who knows how much longer we've got to go. It can only be a few seconds. And now Marsh. Maybe the last crisis for Arsenal, and an obstruction by Story. And Story having a word with the linesman, which is not to be recommended. For Arsenal, it's got to be everybody back and everybody defend what could be the last crisis. It's Eastham for Stoke, curling it in again. And down goes Radford again. From Smith. Oh, and he lost a valuable ball there, George Armstrong. McClintock with his head towards Story. Now Green after Ritchie. This could be very dangerous for Arsenal. Ball back to challenge though. And a free kick given to Stoke. Ball unhappy about it. So are the rest of the Arsenal players. But the situation is clear that it is still a difficult little last moment for Arsenal. Burrows and Marsh are poised behind it. And every white shirt practically is up there. Burrows to hit one, but straight at the wall. Elder, and before he can put it back, the whistle has gone. And Arsenal have survived for a replay. So a dramatic and a tremendous FA Cup semi-final here at Villa Park ends with a scoreline. Stoke City 1, Arsenal 1.
Well, let's first of all clear up one important point. That Stoke goal, it seemed for a while that the camera did lie. Certainly it fooled me into thinking that it was scored by Dennis Smith of Stoke. But you'll see later in the programme from another angle that in fact it's an own goal by Peter Simpson. I'm sorry to have misled you. But the real drama, of course, came later on when John Radford was forced to go into that Arsenal goal when Bob Wilson was injured. After the game, I asked John Radford how he felt when he knew that that's what he had to do.
Yeah, I was chatting to one of the supporters in that stand, you know, I heard a bit of a groan go, and he asked me who were going to go in goal, and I said me, you know, and we both started laughing together. And then I realised, you know, that it was real. And the old butterflies started, but luckily enough I didn't have much to do.
But you do a lot of it in training, don't you?
Yeah, I do it now and again, yeah, when Bob's a bit tired.
But you made a couple of quite reasonable saves there. You must have been pretty pleased with. One from Jimmy Greenough.
Yeah, I should have held it, but I thought I'd better make sure I stop it first, you know. Yeah, it weren't really an hard shot.
It looked as though you were well on the way to winning when Georgie Armstrong scored, didn't it?
We were the better team today, yeah.
Do you think you're going to be the better team at Goodison?
I don't know. I think the replay should be at White Hart Lane myself. I think our fans have done enough travelling about.
But do you think Arsenal will get there again?
I think so, Brian, yeah. I think we're a better team.
John Radford. Bob Wilson, of course, has got a cartilage injury. That puts him out for the rest of the season, and it means that Jeff Barnet, the Arsenal reserve goalkeeper, will be in for the replay at Goodison Park on Wednesday night. Jeff, of course, himself a former Everton player, so he'll be happy to go back to Goodison. But now let's go across to Jimmy Hill.
Well, in fact, it was a simple story yesterday. Arsenal should have won the match in the first half. They didn't take their chances, and they gave fate a chance to take a hand in the match, and it did in a very unkind way. It looked as if the match was all over when George Armstrong got that first and brilliant goal. It was a good reward for him for a marvellous season. Lots of people talk about his energy and his running power and his enthusiasm, but he's also got in that frame a lot of skill wrapped up. Here he is now, number 7, starting the move off by playing the ball up to Charlie George. In fact, Charlie George got in a similar position in the first half, laid on an open goal for Alan Ball, which he missed. This time, maybe he thinks I'm going to have a go myself. But the ball rebounds off there, and as it's headed loose, Armstrong has followed up from that original pass, takes one touch to set it up, and then a beautiful left-foot volley on the turn. Lovely shape, a really beautiful skill, and a first-class goal. And the game looked over, except that George Eastham again, knowing that Arsenal must be in trouble because by now Wilson was already injured, and he was the first player to test him and pump that kind of ball into the middle, and test him it did. You can see there, as Simpson slices into his own net, how closely he was challenged by Smith, who put him under pressure, but really it was an unfortunate thing for Arsenal. It brought Stoke right back in the game. What about the Wilson injury? It isn't very often we get a chance to see injury happen, as it does in this case. Not very pleasant for Bob looking today, but it does show you a cartilage, which is what it looks to be anyway, actually going under pressure. Bob was stretching very much for this ball, went right over his head, a high ball, and he was determined to get it, and it just beat his fingers. Watch his left leg now as he comes down. There it is. It hits the floor and crumples inwards. You can see it sag. And that was the kind of agony that he had to experience from then on. And a brave performance he made of trying to stay on the field, but obviously in the end he had to quit. Anyway, good luck, and we hope you're playing soon, Bob. But there are a couple of refereeing points that came out of that match yesterday. The first one, I think that the laws at the moment are making it very difficult for goalkeepers. I'm against this new 4-step law, and it was devised, of course, to keep the play going and stopping goalkeepers using gamesmanship to halt it. But what's happening now, of course, is that referees know that the law is unfair to an extent to goalkeepers, and I think they're giving them the benefit of the doubt. Let's just look now, first of all, at Bob Wilson when he gathers this ball from the corner. He falls and gets up. I want you to count how many paces you think he takes from this moment on. Player against him, you can see just in the edge of the frame there now, and he starts to dodge him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then a kick. Clearly over the top. Now let's look at Gordon Banks, who I think Arsenal know doesn't particularly like players worrying him on the ball. Now, does he touch Charlie George there, or does Charlie George touch him? I think not, but Gordon's got quite a clever way of getting free kicks for himself, faced with that awkward position. Now we look again in the second half. The same two players, not at that incident, the one coming up now. Gordon picks up the ball, Charlie George goes into charge. Now, who moves into who there? Was that Charlie George or was it Gordon Banks? Anyway, a foul was given, and twice, I think you'll agree, the referee has given the goalkeeper the benefit of the doubt there. So much for that. I think that's something referees have got to look at in the future. That's a technical detail, shall we say. A lot of people thought maybe that Keith Walker didn't referee well yesterday. I thought he had an excellent game, and I was very relieved that he stopped what was a fierce competitive game getting into what might have been a brawl. I'm happy that he's doing the replay. But there was one incident which showed how yesterday's game did flare up and might have flared up even more. I make no apology for showing it. It's between Story and Bernard, and I don't think either is incident. Just watch as they go in here, see which one plays the ball. You can see the ball could have stayed there all night without being played. Both players, they could claim maybe that they aimed at the ball and didn't get it, but that picture shows clearly that both went over the top of it. I'm looking forward to the day when all professional footballers can go out there knowing that they only have a player coming at them intent on playing the ball. That would be really lovely.
Next, it's our Golden Goals competition of 1972. This week we see again the final 6, and after we've seen them I'll tell you how you can vote. Now, what we've got to do, remember, is put them in an order of merit, which is the best goal, second best goal, third best goal, down to the sixth best goal. Let's have a look at them again then. Goal A was scored by Alan Mullery for Spurs against Crystal Palace.
To Mullery, the skipper, and now Kinnear. Turning again, Gilzine just getting a foot to it. Chivers to knock it down for Perryman. Gilzine. Flick through there, and will it go? No, it won't. Perryman again, playing with Crystal Palace, and Mullery to really hammer that one. They toyed with Crystal Palace once, twice, and again.
Goal B comes from Bobby Kerr of Sunderland, and this was scored against Birmingham City.
Dennis Tuart.
Oh, what a good one! What a tremendous shot! Billy Kerr, the scorer! What a fabulous goal that was!
Goal C is another Tottenham goal, and it's scored by Martin Chivers against Nottingham Forest.
Perryman. Peters. And Neighbour. Peters has gone on the outside again. Beautifully played for him, and he is completely free. Chivers! Oh, a magnificent goal! Superbly created.
Goal D is for Millwall fans. It's Derek Posses, scored again against Birmingham City.
Francis winning again in the air. Bridges with Hind at his heels. Played on for Posse. What a magnificent ball. Posse hitting it. Oh, and a tremendous goal. What a tremendous goal by Posse.
Goal E scored by Charlie George of Arsenal, and this came at Highbury against Derby County.
Simpson with the kick. Kennedy's head. And now O'Hare. Graham going in. Armstrong. Graham. A hard one across. Charlie George. Oh, and he's done it on the stroke of half-time. Charlie George.
And finally, goal F from West Ham United, scored by Trevor Brooking against the Spurs.
And Moore playing the ball, lifting his feet high there, but the referee thinking that it constituted no danger, and he played the ball. Brooking trying to send Collins one way, then the other. A curling one! Oh, wonderful goal! A lovely curling goal there by Trevor Brooking.
Remember, you've got to put them into an order of merit, and the Golden Goals coupon will be appearing for the last time in both the London Evening News and the Evening Standard tomorrow. Now, if you live in the circulation area of those two newspapers, the two London evenings, that's the only way you can vote in Golden Goals for 1972. If you live outside that area, we will accept your entry on a postcard. Let me just remind you then, you postcard entrants, this is the order of goals again. Goal A, Alan Mullery. Goal B, Bobby Kerr. Goal C, Martin Chivers. Goal D, Derek Posse. Goal E, Charlie George. And goal F, Trevor Brooking. And when you've got them in the right order of merit, this is the address to send your postcard. Golden Goals, London Weekend Television, Wembley, Middlesex, HA9 6DA. And the entries must be in by Wednesday morning at the latest. Now, this week, the Golden Goals panel will be sitting down to judge their final order. That's Malcolm Allison, Bernard Joy of the Standard, Vic Railton of the News, and Jimmy Hill. We shall give you that winning order next Sunday, and we shall name the winner as well. And the winner this year, as usual, has a weekend with the Big Match team and a chance to meet all the star players at a special party after it. But now we go to the place that Arsenal and Stoke were striving to get to yesterday, Wembley Stadium. It's the non-League Cup final there, the FA Challenge Trophy, and it's between Barnet and Stafford Rangers. As usual at Wembley, we have the pre-match preliminaries, and our commentator in the stadium yesterday, Gerald Sinstadt.
And now the presentation of the teams to Sir Stanley Rouse, the president of FIFA, Jimmy Lai, the Barnet club captain, introducing his players. And now Sir Stanley goes down the line of Stafford Rangers players, escorted by their skipper, Graham Chadwick. This Barnet side, chosen from a part-time staff of 14 professionals and 1 amateur, including 3 former Arsenal players. One of them in goal, Jack McClelland, who got 6 full caps for Northern Ireland, but never played here for his country. Gordon Ferry played 11 First Division games for Arsenal and then moved on to Orient, had a spell also in America. And Jerry Ward still holds the record as the youngest ever first-team player for Arsenal. He turned out for them when he was 16. Came here to play for England's schoolboys 21 years ago. The Stafford Rangers side, pretty much as expected, just one slight surprise at left back. The average age of this side, only 25, and only one of the side, Jim Sargent, has not been on the books of a league club. Ray Williams, the leading scorer with 41 goals, hat-tricks in the quarter-final and semi-final, and another one here today would give him the club's scoring record, which has stood for 45 years. So it's Barnet kicking off and very clearly showing us their tactical lineup with only 3 men forward, Powell, Flatt and Eason. And that was Flatt dispossessed by Williams. And this is Mike Cullerton, Stafford Rangers in the black and white stripes, Barnet in their old gold shirts, goalkeeper Jack McClelland. King under this one. Beaten to it by Chapman. Now Ward for Barnet. Powell out on the right touchline. Just to Eason in the middle. Ferry's header. Chapman on for Stafford to Williams. Powell, and it looks as though he might have the legs of Clayton. Flat shot blocked, but Stafford for a moment off balance here. Plume pulled back for Ward, and that's Barnet's first shot after 26 minutes from Jerry Ward. Flat to Ward. Good ball this time, out to Plume. Eason is in the middle, the only Barnet forward in the area. They don't get men forward quickly enough. Can Eason do it on his own? Very nearly did. My word, Alexic made a good save then. Very fine save indeed by Alexic. Two-handed catch. Cullerton. Williams, and he's away again, and now he's got a run on goal. This is dangerous. He was so close. Chadwick's header. Sargent getting in and getting up very quickly to take the return. Unlucky to hit Cullerton on the heels, but got the rebound he deserved. Well, that's testing Lai. Jones made a lot of ground, and now Williams in the middle. Come to Bailey for Williams, and he's got it! He only needed a sniff. The man who most deserved the goal has scored it. Ray Williams put Stafford Rangers 1-0 in front. This may force Barnet to throw more men forward, and we could now have a much better game, or certainly a more lively game. There's been a lot of stifling going on in midfield. That looked dangerously like handball. King to Plume. Plume with a chance to shoot, and well covered by Alexic again. This is suddenly a different game of football. Cullerton for Bailey. Cullerton to take the throw in. Williams. Jenkins, and losing it to Cullerton, cross to Bailey, Cullerton in again! The initial mistake was made by the Barnet defence when they gave the ball back to Cullerton, but when he played it to Bailey, Bailey shielded it so craftily that when Cullerton came in for the return, McClellan can hardly have seen him or the ball coming. And now there's a man down, coming slowly to his feet. Bailey. What an unselfish player this is. Works so hard for his colleagues. Jones. And that's dangerous. In from Williams. Williams' second goal. The cross coming over from the move started by Bailey. Out to Jones. Jones's cross banged into the net by Williams, who's now down needing some treatment. The crowd now trying to jolly along Mr. Partridge to blow his final whistle. And they've done the trick. It's all over. Stafford Rangers have become the third winners of the FA Trophy, and Ray Williams, who has equalled their club scoring record with his 2 goals here today. Cullerton the third, number 7 there in the black and white stripes. Stafford Rangers have beaten Barnet and beaten them deservedly by 3-0.
Another Wembley occasion coming up next weekend with the FA Amateur Cup final between Hendon and Enfield. That's next Saturday, and we shall bring you some highlights of that next Sunday afternoon on the big match. But we leave you today with that moment of agony for Arsenal and for Bob Wilson, when Wilson became a crippled token of resistance and Arsenal were called on to show all their courage and character.
In for Dobing! No, against the post! Greenough, no! And Wilson cannot go on. He is appealing in vain to the bench to come off.